Eliza Knight is an award-winning USA Today best-selling author. She writes historical women's fiction and is an avid history buff. She also hosts the podcast History, Books, and Wine. I like that combination. She joins us now today on Author's Note to talk about her new release, Confessions of a Grammar Queen. So if you're a fan of Mad Men or Lessons in Chemistry, this book is for you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm excited to talk with you about the book.
I'm excited to hear about it. So tell us, though, the premise of this book and why it kind of qualifies as historical.
Sure, no problem. So this book takes place in 1963 in New York City, and it's about a young copy editor named Bernadette Swift who has aspirations of becoming the first female CEO of a publishing house. And along with the help of some of her friends who are part of a secret book club that meets the New York Public Library after hours, they sort of take on the patriarchy and promote themselves in the workspace.
So what was it about that era, that 1963 era? You're obviously, you weren't around then. So what was it about 1963 that certainly someone as a history buff, you went, oh, this is definitely a place I want to explore?
So first of all, I love the music of the 60s, but it's also such a burgeoning time in the United States. There's so much going on. In 1963, the Equal Pay Act was passed, which is with women getting equal pay, and there's also civil rights going on, and there is, the Vietnam War, the beginning of that happening. So there's just so much going on in the United States at that time that it changes everything. I mean, I think where we are today stems from that time period.
When you look at 1963, I think it's a good spot where you can look back and see what the 50s and the 40s looked like, and you see a glimpse of to what's coming right in that time period. It's a great touch point, inflection point. So is Bernadette based on anyone or inspired by anyone?
Yes, there are two fascinating women in history who I based my character Bernadette on. One is Eleanor Gould Packard, who was known as the grammarian, and she was a somewhat famous copy editor for the New Yorker for about 50 years or so. And the second person is Phyllis E. Gran, who was the first female CEO of a publishing house in 1987.
So it took a little time. It didn't happen in 1963. So when you were researching, was there anything that you didn't know that you were like, oh, I didn't realize this, and kind of ignited your imagination when you were looking at that time period?
Yeah, so there was a lot of things I was really surprised about. For example, women in the workplace, if you were pregnant, you pretty much just went home. There was no maternity leave, there was no job security to come back for. Also, you couldn't just rent an apartment on your own. You had to have a male relative or someone sign off for you. And then I guess most surprising too was that women didn't even have credit cards back then. You couldn't have a credit card or any sort of credit until the mid 70s.
I think this is great information, especially for younger women who feel like we've had all these things their entire lives. But my mother was pregnant in 1968 with me. She had me in 1969, and she had to quit her job. They made her quit. So, yeah, there's no recourse. So it's just really, it was just a minute ago, but it seems so far in the past. So I want to talk a little bit too about, you've got this situation where women are coming together in a book club for part of the subplot here, but you're part of a kind of a really cool book club. So you're part of Tall Poppies, right? Talk about who Tall Poppy writers are.
So the Tall Poppies are a group of women writers who really support each other in all of their writing aspirations, their career goals, and in friendship. It's just a fascinating group of women that lift each other up and empower each other every day. So I love being part of that group, and it's very inspiring. And I think that a lot of us try to engage with that in our writing as well.
And so a couple of things. Your book, Confessions of a Grammar Queen, available everywhere. Number one, we want to make sure that everyone takes a look at that. But we have an easy way also for people. We're going to put on the screen a QR code. You can follow Eliza and the Tall Poppy Writers Group by just clicking, put your phone up to that QR code, and you'll be able to see all the amazing writers that are part of the group. Congratulations on the success of the book. I can't wait to read it. I was a big fan of some of the books you listed in the beginning. So Eliza, I'm going to be a new fan of yours. Thank you so much for writing this and spending time with us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Again, author's note today. Oh, there we go. Confessions of a Grammar Queen. Hey, we'll be back.